Yeah, there was a question asked about like emotions and why we bring them up, and why don't we? Like, why aren't we connecting with people? This is what I don't get. It's like I teach in social dynamics, I teach men how to communicate, but nobody wants to get deep with somebody, or they do only to manipulate somebody. Okay. Yet the entire beauty of talking to people, it comes down to this awesome connection. Why aren't you having that? Why aren't you having that with everybody? I was teaching a workshop this last week, and this homeless guy talked to me, and I don't want, I mean, this guy looked sick. I didn't want to talk to him. He talked to me for a little bit, and I'm not going to turn down a conversation, but immediately, man, it was like, holy shit, man, this guy has some good stuff to say. And I had to put myself in check with that, because the human experience isn't to get what you want. The human experience is not to fucking control all this shit and fucking be better than other people. The human experience is to fit within the world and get some recognition for your expression. All life expresses itself. All things show itself. And if it doesn't get seen in the way that it was made to be seen, it will die. If a plant doesn't get the sunlight, if the plant doesn't get eaten by the animal that eats it and whatever, if the cycle of life doesn't continue, it will die. And as human beings, we are absolutely meant to be social. We're also meant to be sexual. We can talk and express our ideas, not so that we have a popularity contest, but because the one person in front of us can see that. And if we have the ability to show that, that's great. So, man, we go through this world, it's totally repressed, man. Men, women, they're not getting the attention they want in their relationships. They're not getting the attention they want in their jobs. Their energy that they're outputting for their work isn't getting rewarded by the things that they value or the things that they think they value, because we're so out of whack. Our sex lives, this major drive, our food, this major drive, are unfulfilled. So we want more and we try and get more, but that's not the answer, man. Okay. So it's like we're looking, men, women, everybody out there, the average person, the person walking down the street. It's like, man, that person, they might be getting laid. They might not be getting laid. They might have a relationship that communicates, but the dots aren't connected. Okay. We might be healthy. We could run a 6-minute mile or whatever it is, right? We can lift a certain amount of weights, but dots aren't connected in the health of their body. And so we're all starving in this way. And it's so obvious, man. And so the question really had to do with the social dynamics thing of why do you get deep? Well, I was naturally good at it, but I was naturally good at a lot of things. I was naturally good at being really sexual, man. And that's like one of the biggest hacks you can do when you're trying to get laid, is like be aggressive in that way. I was naturally good at being funny. Okay. And that's also, a good thing for social dynamics. We see a lot of people doing the funny angle. We see a lot of people doing the sexual angle, but getting deep with somebody isn't a tactic. It is a right of humanity. And the sad thing is we're also starved at it, that people sadly do react at it. And then it does become a tactic, and then it gets exploited and fucked up. I was telling my buddy, I was like, man, just talk to her and find out what she values, what she really values. And he's like, yeah, because then I can tell her that I can get it and she'll like me. It's like, well, I mean, it's more like this, dude. You got the actual dynamic down. For her to like you, it would be much more and very, very favorable if you did say you could get it, or you had that, or could offer it, or see it in her, or whatever it was, and then she would like you. But you actually have a choice right here, a choice to connect with somebody, good or bad. And that's like, well, did you see the real side of that person? Do you like it? Okay, I can give that to you. I can share that with you. I can be a part of this. That's when you give it. That's when you take that step. But again, a starved person seeing another starved person that's half fed. God, what a clusterfuck. I mean, that's what we marry and call relationships. It's crazy, man. It's awesome. 150 miles an hour running right into a wall, and we're all watching. So the thing is that we want to look at those things. Okay, so what are people starved at? Every single person out there cares about their relationships, but we're in fear of having one. So we get these people that are talking about their relationships, but it's bound with rules. I'm religious and the church says this, or I'm polyamorous and it means that, or I'm monogamous and it means that, and this is it. Yet at the same time, you would say, man, if I know how to ask questions about this, I would say, okay, well, you're super religious. What it's really about in a relationship is that it works and you guys connect best. And so how you're seeing that is through your religion. And I mean, man, could somebody else connect best if they had a different way of thought, like a polyamorous person? Then you get the polyamorous person and they're like, oh, but it's so great because we get to sleep with other people. It's our natural way. We were never meant to be monogamous, but were we meant to be polyamorous? Kind of man-made concept action. But you could say, but like, look, it's all about sexual satisfaction. It's all about what you want. You know, if you could get that in another way, it would be right? You know, that's what we want. That's what we want to talk about. So then we could get to this thing of like, what really makes you happy? Okay, what really makes you work? You know, and that's just somebody, I mean, God, dude, there's a way bigger majority of people who have dysfunctional relationships. It's like, I could ask somebody, what's your ideal relationship? And man, I'd say 80% it depends on their age group. So if they're younger, it's going to be like 95% of them think they know, but they've never experienced it. You know, I'm talking about like probably 27 and down, maybe 30 and down. 95% of them have thought they've been in love or think they know what a relationship is, but it's never made them happy, right? And that's fine. But I could very easily get to that. If I can share that experience with somebody and I like it and bond myself to it, man, an amazing thing can happen. They will never forget me. We will build a bridge within each other that is so good. And again, like my buddy I was talking to about like this stuff, and he was like seeing the manipulative side. Yeah, you could do that, but they're just attracting a bunch of people that aren't good for you. But if you can also make a choice of going, wow, I do really like this person. Let me build that bridge. So we were talking about this, right? Like, man, you give somebody a mental, an emotional, sexual experience that they've never had, because everybody wonders about that. They don't even know what's good. They don't know what's bad. They think they know, but they've never experienced it. And, you know, it's like some crazy shit, right? But if you can bring that out of them and then build that bond, you're set. Okay. So, you know, like, let's look at the direct dark side evil manipulation, and then we'll figure out how to add choice to it. So think about this. Think about an emotional experience that you had. You've seen a concert, you go through some counseling, you attend the Landmark Forum or some other, you know, thing where there's like these big things, the orgasmic meditation group, and you felt something you've never felt. Okay, the natural response to a human being when they felt something they've never felt, it's a huge deal. You will never forget that. Okay, so the first time I had really good sex, I actually don't remember anything about the sex. Well, maybe, but I mean, it was a long time. It was like 5 hours. I'd never done something like that with a stranger, but it was like forever. But I remember that person massively. And we actually had a relationship, which helps for that. But I remember, man, I remember every aspect of the emotional value of that because I'd never had that before. Okay. Now, we have those things all the time, right? And especially if we don't make it a big deal, it's like you lose the steam of idolizing those sorts of people. So then what does a dysfunctional relationship person do, or a functional relationship person do that knows what they want, or like a cult leader do, is they own the reaction. Okay. So it's like, I gave this to you, right? So you see this all the time. It's like you go through this big counseling moment and, you know, it's a group thing and everybody in the audience is going, oh my God. And Tony Robbins is on stage or whoever's on stage. Not that he's, you know, guilty of this, but this, like the same type of people go to that sort of stuff. And you have this big reaction. And then it's like, man, you know, the leader or the person in the group or the person in the cell of the group is like, I knew you could do this. Like, I believed in you. You know, this is amazing. What did Bill Clinton say to George Stephanopoulos after he fired him and said that he needed him at a press conference or whatever it was? He totally betrayed this dude. And Bill Clinton calls him up. There's Stephanopoulos talks about this. And he's like, man, Clinton was so charismatic. He said, look, man, I know we have some shit. I know we have some fucked up stuff or whatever, but I need you and only you by my side. Wow, Jesus Christ. You know, this was George Stephanopoulos actually talking about this moment. And he was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, there was all this crap and I put it behind me just to show up and do the job that I was proud of. And it's like, he was talking about how you just get caught up in that moment, right? You know, that's amazing. So it becomes personalized. You did this. What did Alfred Hitchcock? This is the best, man. You want to fucking read about some master manipulator, fucked up people. Ingmar Bergman, Alfred Hitchcock. Crazy. You know, guys like Scorsese didn't really mean to, and he was more of a situational guy, but the guy was married like 8 times or whatever. But Bergman, same thing, 20 kids. Like, God. Hitchcock, just nuts. Hitchcock was so mean to his female actresses. On the, God, man, Joan Fontaine was the lead actress in Rebecca, 1940, kicked off film noir. That and John Huston's film. But the thing is that he would corner these women in, and Fontaine, you know, later he talked about it and she talked about it, but he did this with everybody except Shirley MacLaine. It was like nuts how fucking mean Hitchcock was, and maybe how calculating, maybe not. But this is what he would do. He would tell Joan Fontaine, nobody believes in you on this set. Sir Laurence Olivier, who wasn't Sir at the time, you know, wants you gone. Nobody likes you, man. You fuck up everything. You suck. So why am I keeping you here? And he would say something along the lines of like, I'm keeping you here because I know you can do it. So why can't you step up to that? What is wrong with you? So like he would make this shit up, whether people did it or not, or he would facilitate the environment to do that. Man, you know, that's some crazy stuff. Like Lars von Trier, just horribly mean to his actors. Ingmar Bergman, you look at his movies like Persona and B.B. Anderson and Liv Ullmann, who he was fucking both of them. He was married to one of them and fucking the other, and they knew it, gets them to act in a movie where there are only 2 people. Well, really, mainly only 2 people. There's other extraneous people, which are them acting in the whole fucking thing. What does Liv Ullmann do? She has a kid with him later, marries him, divorces him. After she gets divorced, directs a movie that he writes 20 years later called Faithless. Go figure, right? And man, you want to hear about more fucked up shit, watch that movie. But it's just this level of like manipulation is so high. So when we look at that, we can go like, well, wait a minute. Human dynamics is that. Human dynamics, if you do that and choice happens there, it has presented a bunch of bad relationships with these people. You know, you don't want to be mystery. You don't want to be even myself when I'm making bad decisions and that. You want to be you. So what's the big choice when we have this big emotional thing? Like when we tap into somebody's like emotions, we want a choice, and we want that choice to be, is this person right for me or are they wrong for me? And that's what we state that direct personal connection to. Look, that was like amazing sex. I could only have that with you. That is unreal. Like, was that there for you? Like the I like you, you like me is key. If I talk to somebody about their relationships and whatever, and I'm like, you know, this happens all the time. It's like I talk to a woman, especially if they're really attractive. I'm like, well, what do you really want? Like, man, I want this, I want that. I deserve, and they've done the self-talk. They've listened to a lot of Wendy Williams, man. Like, I deserve this, I deserve that. I'm money, you don't know, and they get all in this fucking thing. They may not go that dramatic, but you get the picture. And I was just, so how come you don't have that? Like, why don't you have that? Are you like not good enough for it? Like, if I even want to cut them down, like, why hasn't that been attracted to you? Because you're pretty hot. You could attract anybody. You probably thought you were getting that from a guy, but then he was an asshole. That's kind of your fault too. So how come your beauty isn't good enough that a man has seen it? And so I could just hone in there and just, oh my God, fuck, Jesus Christ. Well, what is beautiful to you? Like, tell me what's beautiful. Like, what is your passion? And what is your passion? And like, show it to me. Like, what is your passion? And like, how it would be kissed or given affection to? Like, why? Probably because you can't show it. So only dirtbags see it. They just say you're passionate and they agree and they think they know what's up, and then they fuck your pussy and you're like, oh, okay. But like, what is that? And this was actually a true story. This was a girl, she was a waitress, and she was like dumb. And I was like, gee, and I told the guy, you know, basically I told him, I said, dude, this girl's dumb, but I'm going to go through the passion thing and, you know, whatever. And she said, man, taking care of my little brother. So it was right before I met Maria, actually. She was 19. And she's taking care of my little brother. I was like, what? You know, tell me like more about this. Well, this and that, and this is going on. Man, this is like what I live for. You know, it's like talking to somebody about just whatever is, you know, kind of stupid, all this, basically the stuff that we were talking to her about before, but she was like, that is the most important thing. And I was like, man, that is fucking, and so I switched. I was like, this is somebody I want to know. So man, that is awesome. Like, I want your number. I want to talk to you. And then all I have to do is bring up the different resistances that come with that. And it's like, I know you're at work or whatever, and you're not supposed to do that, but like, just give it a chance. Let's go get like kolache somewhere or whatever, and we could eat sugary food and talk. And if you don't like me, whatever. Man, it was so funny because like, God, dude, this girl, I mean, we got really deep, but this girl would not stop talking to me. It was awesome. It was like so badass because, so hung out, dated for a little bit, hooked up, actually did not like go crazy sexually with her. Plus she was like so inexperienced, but kind of went our separate ways. Then literally the next week I meet Maria and then just take off on that. But she kept, I remember, man, I saw her again just on the street, and she was like, hey, what's going on? If you ever go to like a stupid party and you want to make fun of somebody, like, let me know or whatever. And I was just like, oh my God, you are still fucking whatever. And then like, I don't know how many months later, but it was months later. And I got this text and it was like, hey, I was like, oh my God, I know what that means. I was like, what's up? It's like, so where do you still live or whatever, all this sort of shit. And I was like, Jesus Christ. But not that that was a great example of going super deep, but it was like where that deepness hit and was really a key thing. Maybe another conversation we talk about the sex part, because if you can get that down, that's another big hook.